In a bustling neighborhood, an ordinary day takes a dark turn when a shocking encounter unfolds. A black teenager, simply enjoying her afternoon, is suddenly confronted by a police officer whose actions cross a devastating line. What starts as a routine interaction spirals into something far more troubling when the officer, with unwarranted aggression, uses pepper spray on the young girl. The incident leaves witnesses stunned and raises unsettling questions about abuse of power. But just as the situation seems unbearably unjust, a figure emerges who will change everything: her father, a police captain with an unshakable sense of duty and justice. Arriving at the scene, he's not just a dad, he's a man determined to hold the system accountable, even when it's his own. How will this tense standoff end? And can justice truly prevail when power is misused? Stay tuned to see what unfolds next. The crowd gathers, murmuring in disbelief at what they've just witnessed. The young girl, tears streaming down her face, struggles to catch her breath. She's shaken but determined not to let the moment break her. People nearby pull out their phones, capturing the scene as questions swirl in the air. Why did this happen? What could she have possibly done to deserve such treatment? The officer, stern and unyielding, stands his ground, seemingly unfazed by the growing tension. He offers no explanation, only commands to disperse, but no one moves. Among the onlookers, whispers spread. She's Captain Miller's daughter. You know, the respected officer who always stands for what's right. As if summoned by fate, Captain Miller's car pulls up. He steps out, his presence commanding immediate attention. The officer's expression shifts, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. The crowd holds its breath, waiting to see what will happen next. Captain Miller scans the scene, his sharp eyes quickly taking in the chaos. His daughter stands in the middle, her hands trembling as she wipes away tears. The sight makes his chest tighten, but he keeps his emotions in check. For now, he walks toward her with a steady, deliberate pace, the murmurs in the crowd growing louder. The officer, still holding his canister of pepper spray, shifts uncomfortably but doesn't lower his guard. "Sir, I was handling a situation," he begins, but his voice falters under the weight of Miller's unwavering stare. Miller kneels beside his daughter, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "Are you okay?" he asks softly, his voice filled with both concern and restrained anger. She nods but doesn't speak, her trust now fully in his hands. Standing, Miller turns to the officer. What situation justified using force on an unarmed teen? The officer opens his mouth but hesitates, the tension so thick it feels suffocating. The crowd edges closer, their phones recording every second. Miller's voice remains calm but firm. "You better have a good answer. This doesn't just end here." The officer stiffens, his gaze darting between Captain Miller and the crowd, now a sea of recording phones and questioning faces. "She was resisting," he mutters defensively, though his voice lacks conviction. The captain takes a step closer, his tone sharp but measured. "Resisting. A teenager standing on a sidewalk is now a threat? Is that your story?" The officer's grip on the canister tightens, his confidence faltering under Miller's unrelenting scrutiny. Meanwhile, the girl's friends speak up from the sidelines, their voices shaking but determined. "She didn't do anything. He just started yelling at her out of nowhere." Another chimes in, "She was just waiting for us. That's all." The crowd grows restless, murmurs of anger and disbelief rippling through the air. Miller raises a hand, silencing them. His focus stays on the officer. "You've made your choice," he says calmly, but his eyes carry the weight of authority and justice. "Now you'll face the consequences." Suddenly, another police car arrives, its lights flashing. Two officers step out, their expressions a mix of confusion and unease as they assess the unfolding scene. The tension spikes, every breath held as Captain Miller prepares to confront not just one officer, but the entire system behind him. As the second police car comes to a halt, the officers exchange glances, clearly uneasy. One of them approaches cautiously, addressing Captain Miller with a hesitant, Is there a problem here, sir? The captain's gaze sharpens, his voice calm but cutting. You tell me. Your officer pepper-sprayed my daughter without cause, and I'd like to know why. Before they can respond, a voice breaks through the tension. A witness steps forward, holding up their phone. I got the whole thing on video, they say firmly, their resolve unwavering. The crowd murmurs louder now, emboldened by the proof. The officer who started it all pales, visibly rattled as he realizes the growing weight of evidence against him. But just as the atmosphere reaches its boiling point, one of the newly arrived officers speaks up, his voice steady but strangely off. Captain Miller, I think there's more going on here than you realize. The cryptic statement catches everyone off guard, and a hush falls over the scene. Miller's eyes narrow. What do you mean? He demands. The officer hesitates, then looks directly at the first cop. It's not the first time he's been involved in something like this, he reveals, his words heavy with implication. The crowd gasps, and the officer who sprayed the girl takes a step back, his composure unraveling. Now, the stakes are higher than ever. This isn't just about a single act of injustice, it's about exposing a deeper pattern. Captain Miller straightens, the weight of what's at stake clear in his eyes. The tension is unbearable as he takes one last step closer to the officer. Looks like you have even more to answer for. Captain Miller's commanding presence draws every eye as he turns to the officer who spoke up. If you have something to say it now, he orders. The officer hesitates, then takes a deep breath. He's been reported before for targeting teens in the neighborhood. Complaints were filed, but nothing ever came of them. The revelation sends shockwaves through the crowd. Murmurs of outrage ripple as people piece together what it means. The officer who sprayed the teen looks panicked, his facade crumbling under the weight of the accusations. That's not true. He blurts out, his voice shaky. They're just kids making things up. But the witness holding the phone steps forward again. It's all here, they insist, holding up their screen. Not just today. There's footage of him harassing others too. Before the officer can respond, a senior commander arrives on the scene, alerted by the escalating commotion. Captain Miller, unwavering, steps forward. I expect you to take this seriously. He's disgraced this badge, and we all know it. The commander nods grimly, ordering the offending officer to be taken in for questioning. As the officer is led away, the crowd cheers softly, a sense of justice beginning to fill the air. Miller turns to his daughter, pulling her into a protective embrace. But just as the tension eases, the senior commander approaches him with a quiet warning. This might go deeper than just him, Captain. Be ready for what comes next. Miller's eyes narrow as he looks back at the crowd, his mind racing. Justice may have been served today, but the fight is far from over. A new challenge looms, one that could expose an even bigger web of corruption. The story isn't over, it's only just begun. As the commotion settles and the officer is taken away, Captain Miller takes a deep breath, his focus shifting back to his daughter. Are you sure you're okay? He asks again, his voice softer now. She nods, her eyes still watery but filled with gratitude. The crowd begins to disperse, murmuring about what they've witnessed, many vowing to share the videos online to ensure the truth is known. The senior commander's words linger in Miller's mind as he walks his daughter to his car. He knows this isn't just about one bad officer, it's a sign of something larger. But for now, he's proud of the community for standing together and refusing to let injustice go unnoticed. As they drive away, his daughter finally speaks. You didn't just help me, Dad. You helped everyone. Miller glances at her, a small smile breaking through his stern demeanor. That's what we're supposed to do, stand for what's right, no matter what. The story may have ended for today, but its message is clear. Justice requires courage, and change begins with those who refuse to stay silent.